Captain Marcus Chen had seen many things in his 15 years stationed at Frontier Colony Delta 7, but nothing quite like this. The massive alien vessel hung in the crimson sky like a metallic storm cloud, its hull gleaming with an oily iridescence that hurt to look at directly. The ship's design was unlike anything in the xenobiology databases. Organic curves melded with harsh geometric angles, as if some cosmic predator had been encased in living metal. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission," Communications Officer Jake Morrison called from his station, his young face pale with tension. It's not using any standard protocols." Marcus strode across the command center of their modest outpost, his boots echoing against the metal flooring. Through the reinforced windows, he could see the colonists below hurrying their children indoors, their faces turned skyward with a mixture of fear and curiosity. This was supposed to be a peaceful mining operation, far from the major shipping lanes and galactic politics. They weren't equipped for first contact with an unknown species. "Put it through, Morrison," Marcus commanded, settling into his command chair. The view screen flickered to life, revealing something that made his blood run cold. The creature that appeared was magnificent and terrifying in equal measure. Standing nearly 8 feet tall, it possessed a humanoid structure, but with distinctly predatory features. Its skin was a deep obsidian black that seemed to absorb light, marked with bioluminescent patterns that pulsed like a heartbeat. For arms extended from its torso, each ending in razor-sharp talons that could easily rend steel. But it was the head that truly unsettled Marcus, elongated and serpentine, with 6 glowing amber eyes arranged in perfect symmetry, and a mouth that split too wide, revealing rows of crystalline teeth. "Humans of this small nest." The creature spoke, its voice a harmonic blend of sounds that seemed to come from multiple throats. "I am Huntmaster Zextar of the Void Stalkers. We have observed your species with great interest." Marcus felt his hand instinctively move toward his sidearm. "This is Captain Marcus Chen of Frontier Colony Delta 7. State your intentions." The creature's mouth twisted into what might have been a smile on a human face, but here it looked like the expression of a shark before feeding. "We are collectors, Captain Chen. We seek specimens of particular genetic promise. Your young ones show remarkable potential." The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. Around the command center, his small crew of 12 tensed visibly. Sergeant David Torres, their security chief, slowly reached for his rifle. "I'm afraid I can't allow that," Marcus said, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through his veins. Zextar's bioluminescent patterns shifted to a deep red. "Allow? You misunderstand your position, human. We have studied your species for cycles. Your adults are crude, weak, predictable. But your larvae, they possess something we require. Something that will serve our purposes well." "Over my dead body," Marcus growled. "That can be arranged," Zextar replied with chilling calm. "You have one of your time units to comply. Deliver the young ones to the landing zone, or we will take them ourselves. Your resistance is noted, but ultimately futile." The transmission cut off, leaving the command center in heavy silence. Marcus looked around at his team. Good men all, but they were miners and technicians, not soldiers. They had basic security training and outdated weapons. Against whatever technology that massive ship possessed, they stood little chance. "Sir," Morrison's voice was barely a whisper. "What do we do?" Marcus stood, his jaw set with determination. "We protect our families." "Morrison, send out an emergency broadcast on all frequencies. Maybe someone will hear it." "Torres, get every man armed and ready. Set up defensive positions around the residential sector." "With respect, Captain," Torres said. "We've got maybe 30 able-bodied men against whatever's on that ship. Those aren't good odds." Marcus looked out the window at the colony below. He could see families huddled in their homes, parents holding their children close. In the distance, he spotted young Tommy Rodriguez playing in his backyard with his cat, completely unaware of the danger hovering above them. The boy was only 8 years old, the youngest in the colony. His father, engineer Luis Rodriguez, was probably working in the deep mines, unaware of the threat to his son. Maybe not, Marcus admitted. But sometimes the odds don't matter. Sometimes you just do what's right. As if responding to his words, the alien ship began to descend, its massive bulk blotting out the sun and casting the colony into an eerie twilight. Whatever was about to happen, Marcus knew that this quiet mining colony would never be the same again. He keyed his comm unit to the colony-wide frequency. This is Captain Chen. All civilians report to designated safe zones immediately. This is not a drill. We are under threat from hostile aliens. Repeat, this is not a drill. The real fight was about to begin. The ground shook as the Void Stalker ship touched down just outside the colony's perimeter, its massive landing struts gouging deep furrows in the red earth. Marcus watched from the command center as smaller vessels detached from the main ship like parasites leaving their host. These craft moved with an unnatural silence, their sleek forms cutting through the air with predatory grace. Torres, report, Marcus barked into his comm. Perimeter teams in position, sir. We've got 17 men spread across 6 checkpoints. Jimmy Harrison and his crew are setting up in the industrial sector, and I've got sharpshooters on the tower platforms. Torres' voice was steady, but Marcus could hear the underlying tension. Sir, these weapons, they're meant for scaring off claim jumpers and wild animals. I don't know what they'll do against whatever's coming. Do your best, Sergeant. That's all any of us can do. Through the command center's windows, Marcus could see the evacuation in progress. Parents carried children toward the reinforced community center, their faces masks of barely controlled panic. Most of the younger men had joined Torres' makeshift defense force, leaving the elderly and women to shepherd the children to safety. That's when Marcus saw him, Tommy Rodriguez, the 8-year-old son of their chief mining engineer. The boy was still in his backyard, apparently trying to coax his large orange tabby cat, Whiskers, into a carrier. The cat, clearly sensing the danger in the air, had positioned himself between Tommy and the approaching alien craft, his fur standing on end and his green eyes fixed on the sky. Damn it! Marcus cursed, grabbing his rifle and heading for the exit. Morrison, you have command. Keep trying to raise fleet command. Sir, where are you going? There's a kid who didn't make it to the safe zone. Marcus sprinted through the colony's streets, his boots pounding against the packed earth. He could hear the alien craft growing closer, their engines producing a sound like screaming wind. As he rounded the corner to the residential sector, he saw the first of the Void Stalkers. They moved like liquid shadow, their forearms allowing them to traverse the ground with a disturbing spider-like gait. Each creature stood nearly 8 feet tall, their obsidian skin making them difficult to track in the growing darkness cast by their mothership. Marcus counted at least 6 of them advancing through the streets, their bioluminescent patterns pulsing in some kind of communication pattern. He reached the Rodriguez house just as Tommy finally managed to stuff his reluctant cat into the carrier. The boy looked up as Marcus approached, his young face streaked with tears. Captain Chen, I can't leave Whiskers behind. Mom said I had to, but I can't. Marcus knelt beside the boy, his eyes scanning the approaching shadows. The Void Stalkers were maybe 2 blocks away now, moving methodically from house to house. Tommy, we need to go. Now. But Whiskers is scared. He won't go in the carrier, and Dad always said never to leave family behind. The wisdom of children, Marcus thought grimly. Luis Rodriguez had instilled strong values in his son, but those same values might get the boy killed. Your dad's right, son. We'll bring Whiskers with us. Marcus hefted the carrier in one hand and his rifle in the other, then started toward the community center. They made it perhaps 50 yards before the first Void Stalker appeared at the end of the street. The creature was even more terrifying up close. Its 6 amber eyes focused on them with predatory intensity, and its mouth opened to reveal those crystalline teeth. It raised one of its 4 arms, and Marcus saw that it carried some kind of energy weapon, a sleek device that hummed with barely contained power. Run, Tommy, Marcus whispered, raising his rifle. Stay behind me and run. The Void Stalker spoke, its harmonic voice carrying easily across the distance. The young one will come with us willingly, or we will take him over your corpse, Defender. Third option, Marcus replied, pulling the trigger. His rifle barked once, twice, 3 times. The high-velocity rounds struck the creature's center mass, and Marcus felt a moment of hope as the alien staggered. But the bullets merely sparked off some kind of personal shielding, leaving the Void Stalker unharmed but clearly annoyed. Primitive kinetic weapons, the creature hissed. How disappointing. It raised its energy weapon, and Marcus knew he was about to die. He'd bought Tommy maybe 30 seconds to run, and he hoped it would be enough. The weapon began to glow with malevolent light. That's when Whiskers made his move. The orange tabby had somehow escaped from his carrier during the commotion. Now, instead of running away from the towering alien predator, he did something that defied all logic and reason. The 15-pound house cat charged directly at the 8-foot-tall Void Stalker, his fur standing on end and his claws extended. What happened next would be talked about in the colony for generations to come. Whiskers hit the Void Stalker low, his claws finding purchase on the creature's legs with surprising effectiveness. The alien let out a sound that was part shriek, part harmonic wail as the cat's claws raked across its obsidian skin, leaving bright scoring marks that glowed with bioluminescent fluid. Impossible, the Void Stalker hissed, looking down at the small earth creature that had somehow breached its personal shielding and drawn first blood. A mere pest should not be able to. Whiskers wasn't finished. The cat scrambled up the creature's torso with the agility that only a feline could possess, his claws finding purchase in the alien's tough hide. The Void Stalker's forearms flailed, trying to dislodge the orange fury that had attached itself to its chest. But Whiskers was having none of it. Marcus stood transfixed, his rifle forgotten in his hands. He'd seen Whiskers catch mice and chase laser pointers, but this was something else entirely. The cat seemed to have grown larger somehow, his movements more purposeful, more intelligent. "Captain!" Tommy's voice broke through Marcus' amazement. "Look!" More Void Stalkers were converging on their position, drawn by their comrades' distress calls. But they weren't moving with their previous confidence. They approached cautiously, their energy weapons trained on the small cat that had somehow wounded one of their own. Whiskers finally released his grip on the first alien and dropped to the ground, landing on his feet with typical feline grace. He positioned himself directly between Tommy and the approaching Void Stalkers. His back arched and his tail bristled to twice its normal size. His green eyes seemed to glow with an inner light that Marcus had never seen before. The wounded Void Stalker raised its weapon again, but something strange happened. The energy beam, which should have incinerated the small cat instantly, seemed to bend around Whiskers, dispersing harmlessly into the air. The alien's 6 eyes widened in what Marcus could only interpret as shock. "What manner of creature is this?" the Void Stalker demanded, its harmonic voice now tinged with something that sounded suspiciously like fear. That's when Marcus remembered something from the early colonization reports. Something about Earth animals exhibiting unusual behaviors in the presence of certain alien technologies. The scientists had dismissed it as stress reactions, but what if it was something more? "Tommy," Marcus said quietly, "stay very still. I think Whiskers is protecting us." The boy nodded, his eyes wide with wonder and terror in equal measure. "He's never done anything like this before, Captain. He's just a regular cat." But Whiskers was clearly not just a regular cat anymore. As more Void Stalkers approached, the orange tabby seemed to expand his defensive perimeter. His fur began to emit a faint luminescence that matched the alien's bioluminescent patterns, and when he hissed, the sound contained harmonic undertones that made the approaching predators hesitate. The lead Void Stalker, the one Whiskers had wounded, raised its weapon again. This time, instead of firing at the cat, it aimed at Marcus. But before it could pull the trigger, Whiskers moved. The cat's leap defied physics. He covered the 20-foot distance between himself and the alien in a single bound, his claws extended and his teeth bared. This time, when he struck, the Void Stalker's personal shielding didn't just fail. It shattered with a sound like breaking crystal. Whiskers landed on the alien's elongated head, his claws digging deep into the creature's skull. The Void Stalker screamed, a sound that shattered windows in nearby buildings and sent the other aliens reeling backward. Its weapon fell from nerveless fingers as it clawed at the small earth creature that was systematically destroying its central nervous system. "Huntmaster," one of the other Void Stalkers called out, its harmonic voice urgent. "The small predator. It's interfacing with our neural networks." Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. The cat wasn't just attacking randomly. He was somehow hacking into the aliens' biology, turning their own advanced physiology against them. But how was that possible? The wounded Void Stalker collapsed, its bioluminescent patterns fading to darkness as Whiskers released his grip and dropped back to the ground. The cat walked calmly back to Tommy's side, sat down, and began grooming himself as if nothing had happened. The remaining Void Stalkers backed away, their weapons trained on the small orange tabby but none of them willing to fire. Their leader, the one Whiskers had just killed, lay motionless in the dirt, brought down by 15 pounds of house cat. That's when Marcus heard the rumbling sound approaching from behind them. He turned to see Luis Rodriguez's mining mech stomping down the street, its massive drill arms gleaming in the alien ship's shadow. The machine stood 20 feet tall and was designed to cut through solid rock, but right now it looked like an instrument of war. Luis's voice crackled through the mech's external speakers. "Nobody threatens my boy. Nobody." The Void Stalkers suddenly found themselves caught between an apparently supernatural house cat in front of them and a very angry father in a mining mech behind them. Marcus couldn't help but smile grimly. Maybe the odds were starting to shift in their favor after all. But as more alien craft descended from the mothership, Marcus realized the real fight was just beginning. Luis Rodriguez had been 3 miles underground when the emergency alert came through his comm system. The words "hostile aliens" and "threat to children" were all he needed to hear. He'd abandoned his mining operation, fired up the largest industrial mech available, and driven it through solid rock to reach the surface in record time. Now, seeing his 8-year-old son standing in the middle of what looked like an alien war zone, with only a house cat and a colony captain for protection, Luis felt a rage unlike anything he'd ever experienced. "Tommy, get behind me," he commanded through the mech's speakers as he advanced on the remaining Void Stalkers. The machine's massive feet left deep impressions in the ground with each step, and its twin drill arms spun up with a sound like screaming metal. The Void Stalkers turned their attention from the mysterious cat to this new threat. 5 of them remained, and they spread out to flank the mining mech. Their energy weapons began to charge, bathing the street in an ominous glow. "Large mechanized unit," one of them spoke in their harmonic voice. "Stand down. The young one will come with us regardless of your resistance." "Over my dead body," Luis growled, echoing Marcus's earlier sentiment. He triggered the mech's mining lasers, twin beams of coherent light that could cut through solid granite. One of the aliens tried to dodge, but the beam caught its center mass, slicing the creature in half despite its personal shielding. The other Void Stalkers opened fire simultaneously. Their energy weapons struck the mining mech with enough force to level a building, but the machine had been designed to operate in the most hostile environments imaginable. Its armor held, though warning lights began flashing throughout the cockpit. Luis charged forward, his drill arms extended. The mech wasn't fast, but it was incredibly powerful. When the first drill connected with a Void Stalker, the result was catastrophic for the alien. The creature's shielding might have stopped bullets and partially deflected energy weapons, but it was no match for a tungsten carbide drill bit spinning at 3,000 RPM. But the aliens were learning. As Luis engaged the second Void Stalker, the remaining 3 concentrated their fire on the mech's joints and power systems. Sparks began flying from damaged servos, and Luis felt the machine's responses growing sluggish. That's when reinforcements arrived from an unexpected direction. Sergeant Torres and his security team came around the corner at a dead run, their weapons firing. But they weren't alone. Behind them came nearly 30 colonists, miners, engineers, maintenance workers, even some of the women who were supposed to be protecting the children. All of them were armed with whatever they could find. Mining tools, industrial cutters, even kitchen knives. "For our children," someone shouted, and the cry was taken up by the others. "For our families." The Void Stalkers suddenly found themselves surrounded by angry humans. Their superior technology and physical capabilities meant little when faced with sheer numbers and desperate fury. But what truly turned the tide was something none of them had expected. More cats began appearing. From doorways, from under porches, from hiding spots throughout the colony, earth felines began emerging. There were maybe 24 of them in total: house cats, barn cats, even a few half-feral strays that lived on the colony's outskirts. And they were all exhibiting the same strange behavior as Whiskers. Their fur was standing on end, their eyes glowing with that unnatural light, and they were moving with purpose toward the remaining Void Stalkers. The aliens' bioluminescent patterns began shifting to colors that Marcus had never seen before. Deep purples and violent reds that seemed to indicate extreme distress. "This is impossible," one of the Void Stalkers hissed, backing away from the approaching felines. "Simple Earth predators cannot interface with our bioneural networks. Our scientists assured us." "Your scientists were wrong," Marcus interrupted, finally understanding what was happening. "They studied humans, but they didn't study our partners." He looked down at Whiskers, who was sitting calmly beside Tommy despite the chaos around them. The cat met his gaze with those glowing green eyes, and Marcus could swear he saw intelligence there. Not just animal cunning, but something deeper. Something that recognized the threat to its family and was prepared to do whatever was necessary to stop it. The remaining Void Stalkers were retreating now, their weapons forgotten as they tried to avoid the advancing cats. But there was nowhere to go. The colonists had them surrounded. Luis's mining mech blocked their path to the landing zone, and the cats were somehow jamming their technology. One of the aliens tried to activate what looked like a personal teleporter, but the device sparked and went dead when a small calico cat approached it. Another attempted to call for backup from their ship, but their communications equipment failed when a large black tomcat fixed them with an unblinking stare. "Retreat!" the lead Void Stalker commanded. "Fall back to the ship. This world is compromised." But as they tried to flee, Marcus saw something that filled him with hope. Similar lights were beginning to appear all across the colony. Not just cats, but dogs, horses, even some of the local wildlife. Every Earth creature on the planet was responding to the alien threat in ways that defied explanation. The hunt was over. The predators had become the prey. The Void Stalkers' retreat was anything but orderly. As they fled toward their landing ship, they found their path blocked at every turn by Earth's creatures. Dogs barked with harmonic frequencies that disrupted their communications. Horses stampeded in coordinated patterns that cut off escape routes. And even the local bird population seemed to have joined the defense, diving at the aliens' heads with unprecedented aggression. But it was the cats that truly broke the Void Stalkers' resolve. Whiskers had been joined by every feline in the colony, and they moved with a unity of purpose that was both beautiful and terrifying to behold. They formed a living barrier around the fleeing aliens, their eyes glowing with that strange inner light, their bodies somehow interfacing with technology that humanity barely understood. Marcus watched in amazement as a small tabby kitten, barely old enough to be away from its mother, approached one of the Void Stalker's energy weapons. The moment the kitten's paw touched the device, it simply died. Not broken, not damaged, but completely drained of power, as if the small Earth creature had somehow absorbed its energy. "Captain," Morrison's voice crackled through Marcus's comm unit. "You need to see this. The alien mothership, it's powering down." Marcus looked up at the massive vessel hovering above them. Sure enough, its bioluminescent patterns were fading, and the ship was beginning to list to one side. "What's causing it?" "I'm reading massive power fluctuations throughout their ship. It's like something is draining their entire energy grid." Marcus looked down at the cats surrounding them. There had to be several hundred of them now, not just from the colony, but from the wild populations across the entire continent. They had appeared as if summoned, drawn by some instinct that humanity had never suspected existed. "Torres," Marcus called out, "cease fire. Let them go." The security chief looked confused but lowered his weapon. "Sir, I don't think we need to fight them anymore." The remaining Void Stalkers had reached their landing craft, but their ship systems were failing. The engines that had allowed them to descend with such predatory grace were now sputtering and sparking. One by one, the smaller vessels began crash landing, their crews stumbling out in apparent confusion. Huntmaster Zexstar's voice boomed across the colony from the mothership's failing communication system. This world is defended by creatures we did not account for. We withdraw our claim. We withdraw our presence. Let it be known throughout the galaxy. Earth's guardians are not its sapients, but its companions. The massive ship began to rise, its systems failing with each passing moment. But it managed to clear the atmosphere before whatever was draining its power could claim it entirely. Within minutes, the alien presence was gone, leaving only the scattered wreckage of their landing craft and the memory of the strangest battle in human history. Tommy Rodriguez broke away from the group of colonists and ran to Whiskers, scooping the orange tabby into his arms. "You saved us," he whispered into the cat's fur. "You saved everyone." Whiskers purred and rubbed against the boy's face, but his eyes retained that strange glow for several more minutes before finally returning to their normal green. Around the colony, the other cats began to disperse, returning to their homes and families as if nothing unusual had happened. Luis Rodriguez climbed down from his mining mech and pulled both his son and the cat into a crushing hug. "I don't understand what just happened," he admitted, "but I'm grateful for it." Marcus activated his colony-wide comm system. "This is Captain Chen. The threat has passed. All families may return to their homes. And I think we owe our four-legged friends a few extra treats tonight." Later, as the colony returned to some semblance of normalcy, Marcus stood in his command center reviewing the day's events. Morrison approached him with a data pad full of readings they'd taken during the encounter. "Sir, I've been analyzing the energy signatures from the cats during the battle. It's impossible, but it looks like they were somehow generating quantum interference patterns. They were literally disrupting the aliens' technology at a subatomic level." Marcus nodded thoughtfully. "Any idea how?" "None whatsoever. But Captain, what if this isn't the first time? What if Earth's animals have always had this ability, and we just never noticed because we'd never encountered the right kind of threat?" The thought was staggering. Marcus looked out the window at Whiskers, who was back to being a perfectly ordinary house cat, chasing a butterfly in Tommy's backyard. "You think there's some kind of planetary defense system?" "I think," Morrison said carefully, "that we've been underestimating our pets for a very long time." Marcus smiled. "Send a full report to Fleet Command. Include everything. The battle, the cats, the energy readings, all of it." "They'll never believe it, sir." "Maybe not. But I have a feeling this won't be the last time humanity encounters threats from the stars. And when it happens again, I want everyone to know that Earth's guardians come in all shapes and sizes." Outside, Tommy Rodriguez was playing fetch with Whiskers, who was demonstrating the typical feline disdain for the concept by ignoring the thrown ball entirely. The boy's laughter echoed across the colony, a sound of pure joy and innocence that somehow made the entire universe seem a little bit safer. The Void Stalkers had learned a hard lesson. You don't threaten Earth's children. Not when their guardians are watching. And they're always watching.